Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasuries podcast. I'm Tim Kotzman. I'm here with Sue Ennis, the head of investor and government relations at Hut 8. Sue, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tim. Super excited to be here today with your audience. Lots to get into and excited to chat.
Absolutely. Do you want to start with a little bit of your background, your journey to Bitcoin, and ultimately to Hut 8?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is I do come from a financial services background. And so I was working at at a large global asset manager called Invesco until about 2016, but feeling unbelievably dead inside and disenchanted with some of the prehistoric processes that I was watching underpin the Canadian financial services space. Like T+3 settlement, just different departments working in silos. And so this is 2016. And so that's when I started to do research about there must be a better way. There must be something that people are working on to solve for these silos, to solve for all these intermediaries, which, in my opinion, and obviously the opinion of millions of people out there, were getting in the way of actual progress and inclusion and just efficiency. So that's when I started learning about distributed ledger, decentralized ledger, which obviously naturally led me to Bitcoin. And so this is around the same time that Ethereum was just starting to really sort of gain a larger community in Toronto. So some of the co-founders of Ethereum are from Toronto. I was based in Toronto. And so this is, again, 2016. It took me about a year to try and actually break into the crypto industry. I had to convince quite a few OGs that I wasn't just another finance D-bag, hopping on the bandwagon. And then, so then 2017, I helped start CoinSquare's wealth trading desk, which was then bought by WonderFi. And WonderFi was then recently acquired by Robinhood. So I've been in the crypto space since 2017. And I think my orange pill moment, the big moment of really understanding what this technology is about, that big moment for me was in 2017. I did this jungle survival course in Amazon Guyana. And it was me and these two logistics engineers for Doctors Without Borders, and then a trauma therapist. And then it was led by this ex British Navy SEALs officer. And so it was basically just a 2-week program where you go deep, deep, deep into the jungle and learn how to survive. I hated every second of it. It was not for me. And there are so many ways to off yourself as a first world person in the jungle, particularly one who's just not used to, schlepping around bullet ants and setting up, tents in the middle of the rainforest. Anyhow, like me. Anyhow, so the point is we had this tribe who lived in the Amazon follow us around. So the group often would pay them just to, again, make sure that dumbass white chicks like me didn't like run into a bush and hang herself by accident on a vine. So they had this tribe follow us around for 2 weeks. There was 5 or 6 people in this tribe, and some of them didn't know their birth dates, had no formal identification. And at the end of it, the leader actually asked to be paid for their services in Bitcoin because they did have a cell phone. And so this was spring 2017. And so that was a major moment for me because I was whoa, wait a minute. These are not people who could formally participate in the traditional economy who now have financial agency and sovereignty because of this technology. And at that time, I think there was 1.8 billion people in the world who didn't have any identity. And I think that number's now gone down to 1.3 billion. That is an extraordinary chunk of people that, again, I saw firsthand were now enabled because of this technology. So that was my major orange pill moment. And then here I am at Hut 8, and I've been with the company since December 2020. And so happy to get into wherever you'd like to go.
So basically, you survived the jungle, and then you joined Hut 8. That's basically what happened.
Yeah. So I spent I started at CoinSquare, helped start their wealth trading desk. And then I joined this company called Shift Network that was focused on porting identity across open and closed source systems. But then I joined Hut 8 in December 2020. And yeah, I've been there ever since. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been great. So.
And did you start in investor and government relations, or was it a
No,
journey?
no. So at Hut 8, I started in IR for sure. But prior to that, in the crypto space, like I said, it was helping to start the wealth trading desk. And then also at the next company I was at, Shift Network, that was more like global partnerships, business development. So yeah, Hut 8 was my first time ever actually being in IR. And I think the really interesting thing then too is, so that was December 2020. And effectively, there was a new CEO coming in, and she was like, we don't really have much money. Our stock's trading at 40 cents. I need you to figure out how to get this up, like get this stock going and figure out who our shareholders are. So again, because we didn't have much of a budget, I think one of the first things I did was, and sort of I think started, was leveraging social media in order to sort of like just really leveraging social media for investor relations, because that is around the time like the GameStop, the Wall Street bets are really coming to fruition. And as we know now, like 5 years later, social media is the new decentralized hedge fund, like the power of retail. And so, yeah, I just effectively got in the role, and I started just like trolling YouTube, like who's talking about Hut, like reaching out to YouTubers and being like, hey, can I come on your show and like let's talk about what's happening with the business. So we ended up being one of the top traded stocks for most of 2021. We had this like cult-like following. There were people getting Hut 8 tattoos. Like it was an awesome ride. And I definitely think that we're getting back there, and there's lots of stuff to get into.
Was there anything that surprised you getting into IR, like what you thought versus the reality, or just things that surprised you to the upside or downside as far as just the day-to-day of that? And you obviously just touched on a little bit of it.
Yeah. So no, I don't think there was nothing surprising about IR. And again, if you're in sales, you can be in IR, and I've been in sales roles my entire life. So it wasn't so much that leap, but I do think that, again, the power of the internet continues to just blow me away, and it every single day. Like it's the power of the internet, the power of community on the internet to mobilize ideas, I think is just such a fascinating trend, because I'm not going to say that fundamentals are broken, but it's like the ability to leverage community and everyone sort of FOMO into a trade idea, I think is almost more important versus having like those fundamental value drivers, because I think there's a bit of a disconnect that's now happening in the market. And it's not a bad thing. I just think it's a super fascinating thing. And social media literacy is really everything. So yeah. I wasn't anticipating that being such a massive part of like my career and job moving forward. Candidly, I was like a social media antichrist prior to taking this job. I was not into tweeting or vlogging or anything like that. But then again, realizing the power of community online and the power of community online to move stocks, to move ideas, to have, memes and companies go viral. Like it was, anyways. So yeah, I wasn't anticipating that, but again, it's been a pretty wild ride. Obviously it was very difficult at times, especially when I was first getting started. Because your feet can really get held to the fire. And I think a couple of quarters we didn't have like earnings that people were too happy with. And so then like snake oil Sue was trending for a little bit in 2021, like not amazing. But no, it's been great. Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Where do you think this is going? And I'll give you just what I've observed over the last couple of months. So we had, there's conferences going on all the time, but we had the Orlando conference, Bitcoin for Corporations. We obviously had the Vegas conference, Bitcoin conference, and those are all live streamed. Then last month, a couple weeks ago, July 8th, I did a digital conference, right? You have 160,000 people on a digital conference on a live stream. Yeah. Then a few days ago, one of the Bitcoin Treasury CEOs just straight up like started a live stream. It's just him. And you have like 20 some thousand people on a live stream just with the CEO direct to whatever that audience is, probably investors, probably shareholders, or people that are trying to learn. I mean, so that's direct to consumer or direct to shareholder. I mean, where does it go from here? Like it doesn't get any more direct than a CEO doing a live stream on X, right?
Totally, totally. And I think it's honestly a beautiful thing. Like it's the democratization of access to information. It's the democratization of voice. And obviously, again, sometimes there's too many voices out there in the social media sphere, but that is what it is. But this democratization of access to platform, to share ideas, to share, like it's no longer like there's no longer these silos around celebrity or these silos around ideas or these silos around modeling. Like you don't have to go to your financial advisor anymore to know like what trade should I be doing in my portfolio. Like go on Twitter, man. Like there's a ton of really qualified and interesting people sharing their ideas, sharing how they model, sharing how they value. So like I think just like this democratization of access is like one of the coolest things that's come out of this. I don't know where it continues to go. I think it'll be interesting to see sort of, when we're actually able to start buying stocks through actual tweets. Like I know like Webull, I think eToro was working on the ability to like actually click on a ticker from that you see in a tweet and then immediately be taken to their trading platform. I think like that's going to be interesting. I think that obviously it remains to be seen sort of where the whole like AI versus authentic human interaction online, like where that's going to go. I do think that like fundamentally, I do think people can intuitively get a sense as to like what is AI versus what is not. And so I almost think that we are maybe going to see this counter reaction to all these AI bots and all the sort of AI driven fodder. I think people are naturally going to crave that like that human touch, like that maybe the post isn't perfect, but like it's an authentic interaction. So yeah, I think AI, I think integrated stock buying in tweets, I think all that's gonna be super interesting to watch. But it obviously like the cat's out of the bag. And I think, yeah, it's awesome to see this continue to play out this power of social media. So
Definitely. Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by StampSeed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026, for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. Can you walk us through HUD 8 and American Bitcoin and how that came to be, maybe?
For sure, for sure. So HUD 8 came under new leadership with Asher Janud in February of 2024. And Hut 8's whole raison d'etre, our purpose for being on this freaking planet, is that we fundamentally believe that the value of the electron will continue to increase as technology continues to evolve. And right now, as we've seen in the Bitcoin mining space, the next best use case for a lot of these Bitcoin miner megawatts is looking like AI. Well, obviously, is AI training data centers. And that was a sort of unprecedented pivot because of the increase of tech, or the advent and evolution of AI and technology. And so that is directly in line with how we look at the world, but we don't think it's going to stop at AI. Maybe there is a world where green hydrogen, where the economics make sense for green hydrogen, and some of those megawatts that a lot of miners are sitting on, the stranded energy powered by renewables, maybe instead of AI, it's going to be flipped to green hydrogen. There's obviously the manufacturing renaissance is happening in North America. TSMC's new chip factory alone, I think their forecasting is going to be 2.8 gigawatts. All those manufacturers are going to be in the same place that a lot of the data center infrastructure players have been in the terms of there is not enough power. We're going from effectively 10, 15 years of like 0% power load growth, demand load growth, to now like 2 to 3%. But simultaneously, we have grids and transmission distribution that is not scaling fast enough in order to meet that demand. And so anyways, so point is that's our whole thesis, is the use case of the electron is going to continue to evolve. It's not just going to stop at AI training data centers. And so we want to capture and manage a massive portfolio of power and then continue to flip those electrons to the next highest use case for those electrons. But how do we do that? How do we capture those megawatts at scale, those cheap megawatts no one wants? Is we use Bitcoin mining as our tool to capture cheap megawatts at scale. Because as long as you have a Starlink satellite and a container and really cheap power, you can pretty much stand up a Bitcoin mine almost anywhere. So where those three variables are present. So that's Hut 8's like our core thesis. Now, so we knew though that if we want to be the energy infrastructure operator and innovation incubation center of the future, we knew that we had to get this highly volatile, highly capital intensive business off of our balance sheet. So we knew we wanted to spin out the mining business. We still wanted to keep exposure to it, but more so via hosting, via fiat-based lines of revenue, where our shareholders could still have Bitcoin upside, but without that CapEx volatility and risk on the balance sheet. So we knew we wanted to spin out this business, but we knew that we needed a catalyst, because otherwise we just would end up being like another middle of the pack mining venture in a sea of, there's like 30 publicly traded miners out there. Anyhow, so that's fast. So we knew we needed a catalyst, and we were just sort of trying to think about what would be the best next catalyst. So one of the co-founders of US Bitcoin Corp, Mike Ho, he was in the Middle East, and he's been in the crypto space since like 2013, 2014. So he knows everybody. And he happened to get in touch with some members of the Trump family, the Trump team. Everyone was out one night, and they were just, talking about some of their ambitions in terms of going deeper into the crypto and infrastructure space, i.e. potentially getting into mining. And then we were like, well, wait a minute, we're actually trying to like spin off that piece of our business. So let's chat. And so that's how that came to fruition. And then fast forward like a few quarters to April 1st, 2025. And yeah, we're announcing our partnership with American Bitcoin that is going to be the all things American Bitcoin accumulation. And I think one of the really interesting pieces of that business is that obviously you have the evangelism and the brand that comes with having the first family as your partners in that venture, but also the fact that we're really one of the sort of the only, or one of the few Bitcoin accumulation companies that actually has a cash flowing operational business. And so the synergies are that Hut 8 parent company is effectively going to run two publicly traded companies. We're going to be running Hut 8 and then also American Bitcoin on the back end, because American Bitcoin has to keep their SG&A as low as possible. Some of the Bitcoin miner accumulation companies, their SG&A is like 150, 155% of total revenue. You want a Bitcoin accumulation company to have as low of an SG&A as possible, so that you can clip that margin. And so, yeah, so that's how that came about. Again, we're super jazzed to be working with Eric and Donald Jr. It's been a really interesting run so far, but yeah, we're really excited.
And are you able to speak to any Bitcoin on the Hut 8 balance sheet right now?
Yeah.
And how you guys think about that, kind of
Yeah.
like past, present, future?
For sure, for sure. So Hut 8 is one of the OG hodlers in the space. We've been adhering to a hodl narrative since like 2018. And so Hut 8 parent company still has over 10,000 Bitcoin on its balance sheet. That Bitcoin is staying with Hut 8. That is not moving to American Bitcoin. And so our investors still get that embedded crypto beta with us having over 1 billion Bitcoin on our balance sheet. And also, as we pursue, again, building the energy and infrastructure platform of the future, being able to go to counterparties and say, hey, look, like we've got $1 billion of liquidity on our balance sheet that we're willing to, possibly earn working capital on by employing it in derivative strategies, or again, maybe selling some down if the investment opportunity makes sense, is also really powerful lever when it comes to negotiation and also to differentiating us versus like the other miners who are trying to capture this space.
This has been awesome. I appreciate you joining us. I'll throw it over to you for any closing thoughts. And if you can let everybody know where they can find you and Hut 8 online.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am at Big Suey on Twitter. And then Hut 8 is at Hut 8 Corp on Twitter. My DMs are open, always happy to chat with any of you. And yeah, really, really happy to be here today. And I think the fall is going to be a super exciting time. American Bitcoin we did have forecast is scheduled to go public Q3, Q4, potentially, and we're in the middle of an S4 process. So stay tuned. Lots on the go.
Awesome. Sue Ennis, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon.